What's your story behind a PB&J?
I want a sandwich. I make a sandwich. I eat the sandwich.
You think I care about that? Look, I can do whatever I want, all right? If I want to shoot a paintball gun at my dad, I'm gonna do it.
Good shot, son. I'm proud of you.
Will you marry me?
What?
Okay, really, could you stay in the cab? I'm sorry, I'll be right there, I promise. Or maybe I won't. What's your answer?
Top news stories of the week. Time to find out once again with Megan Olson and News of the Week on the Al Travis Show.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things we do during the weekend. Megan Olson here with Megan's News in Review. She takes the top stories that are being tweeted, retweeted, and that sort of thing on the internet. And for those of us that don't spend that much time on the internet, they might be shocking to you and I. Megan, how are you?
Good. Happy to be back to talk about more fraud. Like I said last week, it's the word of the year. So we're keeping on theme with that.
Well, this one, I mean, if you're talking the OLA report from Jim Nobles, the old OLA guy, he writes a commentary in the Star Trib. And in all reality, to me, it's shocking. It is just, wait a minute. And here's where I come from. I'm cheap. Some senator, representative tells the OLA, and I'm just going to use autism, this was a $3 million deal. In 3 years, is it $100 million? Could you look into it? You had to have no other reason than this is what I'd like you to look into. They say, okay, so we pay this group to go look. They're nonpartisan, supposedly. They go look into the program, and they come back and they see some issues, and they say, here's what we would do to fix it. We pay this organization to be there. And they come back with what we now know is massive fraud. They make their joke. It's going on everywhere. They come back, and some committee chairman goes, yeah, I get that. That's not good, but we're not going to bring this up in committee?
Yeah. Well, and you say, yeah, it's supposedly nonpartisan. I mean, they get partisan endorsements. They are partisan on the ballot. It's pretty partisan. But what I think is interesting about that commentary is it kind of like opens the curtains a little bit to the dynamics behind the scenes of how all of this stuff is moving and shaking up. And I mean, this guy, Jim Nobles, was the auditor for 38 years. He finally retired in 2021, but he talks about the dynamics back when, I mean, the precursor to all the fraud that we've talked about on this show the last couple of years was the childcare fraud that happened,
Yep.
5, 6, 7 years ago, and even well before that. And talking about how he had met with Speaker Hortman, and she expressed that, they're members of her party that were pretty upset about, going after the childcare fraud, and how committee chairs had an instruction not to let the OLA come in and present at committee meetings. And I just think it's a really interesting piece because it's kind of like you're peeking through the curtain of what are the dynamics behind the scenes, what's happening in party leadership that is, preventing some of this stuff from coming to the forefront. And it was just a really interesting piece from him. I mean, 38 years on the job, and yeah, he's trying to, sound alarm bells to this fraud, but the committee chairs have been instructed not to let him in.
But when you read that, who's instructed them? They were talking about Speaker Hortman, who's now passed. You can't ask her questions, but they're saying that she knows that her, committee chairs were instructed not to give those reports. Well, if you're the speaker, who's above you that's giving those commands down low to the poor lowly committee chairs who are just following orders?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there aren't that many more people above you there. And here's Megan. You tell me after you read this and you saw committee chairs this or committee chairs that, and I get Nobles doesn't want to name names. How is the next article that comes out of the Star Tribune the next day not, to follow up on what we read, just so you know, these were the committee chairs here that he's referring to, and this higher up person who said no to fraud reports? As far as we can tell, it'd be one of these three people. Why is there not a follow-up to this? Because this is big, my opinion.
I mean, yeah, and we'll see what comes out, but I think it's maybe alleging that this is part of the administration, like it's a direction or directive from Walz, and I think the reason why it is
bing
a
bing
direction
bing bing
from
bing
them, or was, is because of the political fallout. I mean, it's messy. It doesn't look good. You have the then chair that Jim Nobles doesn't name names, but the then chair of the House Human Services Committee that brushes it off just by saying there's always going to be fraud. Yeah, of course there's always going to be fraud. I mean, there's always bad actors in the system. We understand that, but we really should be trying to minimize fraud with taxpayer dollars at the end of the day. And if we're not calling attention to it, if we're barring the Office of the Legislative Auditor from even presenting just information at a committee meeting, doesn't even have policy implications, that's a little concerning.
Well, and just the language they use, because this is to scare people with racism, but they felt the OLA reports were subjecting human services programs to too much scrutiny. Okay, let's pause. That's where the comma comes in. What? Look what's going on. Too much criticism, particularly programs served by the Somali community organizations. And I'm like, if someone said, please go check out Somali community organizations, that would be racist. But if you're saying, go check out what's going on with Human Services Program X, and it happens that there's a bubble up in that community, I don't care if it's the Catholic Charities. I don't care if it's the Lutheran Brotherhood. It's like, okay, I don't care if it's the mafia. You know what? It's circled in the community. We still have to go look at it. But they said, no, we don't want to look at it because of that. Who's the racist? It isn't the OLA guy. Just saying,
I can imagine, I can put myself in Jim Noble's shoes, kind of just sitting back, eating the popcorn. Like I was sounding the alarm bells 10 years ago. Like now we're sitting here and all of this is coming out. It should have come out sooner, but I can imagine he's probably more reassured now knowing that this is all happening. And I mean, the state auditor, like I said, it's a partisan position. You have State Representative Elliot Engen, who just entered into that race on the Republican side, hoping to potentially uncover even more fraud and kind of tackle it from a head-on approach. Julie Blaha is currently in that seat. We'll see if she runs again, but I don't think it should be a partisan position. I don't think it should be something that you have an R&D behind your name. There shouldn't be endorsements. It should be completely independent. But
there you go. All right. What other stories you got? That stuff just drives me nuts, Meg. Go ahead.
Talk a lot about fraud here in Minnesota, taxpayer fraud, all that. But, on the private side, private businesses, they're no strangers to it either. And the Minneapolis Chamber had a really interesting story come out about them. Their big CEO, I think it was 5 counts of fraud or something like that.
Yeah.
He basically faked a name of a person named James Sullivan. He said that this James Sullivan person had a company called Synergy Partners. The chamber was working with them, funneling money through them. Also, then apparently James Sullivan died, and the CEO of the Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce faked his obituary. Weird stuff going on here, but a lot of fraud within just this Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce.
It is, these guys make decent money. This guy isn't schlepping by getting to the head of the Chamber of Commerce of Minneapolis. But, oh my goodness, how small an organization is this that he comes up with Synergy Partners brought to you by James Sullivan and it's like, okay, we're going to give them this contract for X number of dollars. Was there nobody on the committee, the secretary says, well, what job is they going to perform for us? Well, they're going to perform synergy stuff, obviously, Nancy. Oh, okay. End of the month, let's send them a check. Billable hours? Is this guy set up in invoices? I mean, and then there are people going, well, did we ever, at the end of the year, when you go over the chamber budget, the chamber people
and that's the crazy part is the grift that this man went through is so insane. He was sending fake emails to try and make it look like this Synergy Partners then was, he took all the money that he wanted. He got everything out that he wanted to. And then Synergy Partners was dissolving because James Sullivan died. And I say that in air quotes for the listeners, a fake obituary. But he has emails that he, is sending back and forth, dissolving the partnership because the company, Synergy Partners, is now defunct. And he went to so many lengths. He even worked with a group called Crime Stoppers, again, quotes, apparently.
Oh, that was the best
to have
one.
Reward money, 3 separate $10,000 reward grants for some sort of arrests and prosecution for some shootings in Minneapolis. And then that never got paid out, so he just took the money from that. It's
back behind the curtains on this. I didn't know how Crime Stoppers worked. But basically, shooting in Minneapolis, they put it on Crime Stoppers. Minneapolis Chamber says, we'll give a $10,000 reward. I didn't know this. They had to give the $10,000 to Crime Stoppers, put it in a safe deposit box or whatever, so it's there in case somebody turns it in. They did it 3 times, $30K. And then at the end of the year, didn't find the criminals. This stuff will happen. So he goes to get the $30K back and tells Crime Stoppers, here's the address, and it was his house. This guy's not a rocket scientist. This guy really is an idiot.
And he sent funds to his campaign for school board as well, which he did win that election in 2023. He now resigned from that position. His name has been scrubbed from the Mounds View School Board website. Crazy story. I'm and just the lengths that this man went to try and cover his tracks, and I don't even know how the feds found this. It kind of just seems like they stumbled upon it.
It seems like if there was a law that he could break, it's like, well, let me see if I could do it. So now you're stealing from Crime Stoppers. You made up an entire company. You actually told, just so people know, Mr. Sullivan died of pancreatic cancer. This no guy that never. So he actually go down the list of how he died. Then he's like, I want to be in school board. Now he's already stole thousands upon thousands of dollars. I'm going to give my own campaign $1,200.
Started to get a little greedy.
And it's like, now they'll never catch me. At some point they do, and they did, and this guy's a knucklehead. So, wow. I'm in the wrong business. Look, if you just get to the right spot and people aren't paying attention, it's just money coming in. We got to go to break. I don't know what she's got for us on the other side. You got a teaser for me? What are we talking about on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, government shutdown. We're going to talk about what Walz is doing here in Minnesota to try and dampen the effects of that.
We'll be back after this with more Megan's News and Review.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Braver Angels Minnesota is part of a national movement that brings together conservatives, liberals, independents, and others to restore trust, respect, and goodwill in politics. We seek not to eliminate our differences, but rather deal with them head on, with respect and understanding. We do not try to change people's views, but how they view the other side. There will always be differences. Braver Angels Minnesota believes the best way forward is to change how we deal with those differences. Join the civil conversation at mn.braverangels.org.
Easily offended? The Al Travis Show is not for you. The Al Travis Show. All sides are welcome.
And we've got our, it's Megan's News and Review, all the big stories going on in Minnesota. And you started with something about getting us through this government shutdown?
Yeah, we're on day 28 of the federal government shutdown, and that means SNAP assistance, WIC, all that stuff is set to expire here in November. So Governor Walz yesterday decided to take $4 million out of the Minnesota budget to have emergency funding for food shelves. So I believe it's every food shelf gets a base of $5,000 and then additional funding based on the local need. There's about 440,000 Minnesotans that do rely on SNAP, so they're kind of hoping that this fills the gap for the time being. But what this tells me is when you have a Minnesota leader making a decision like this, maybe he knows something the rest of us don't, and this government shutdown is going to last a whole lot longer than maybe folks initially thought.
And my first thought on it, and people are going to call me callous as I'll get out. Go ahead. We just put a $76 billion budget out for 2 years, right? And I think that was $6 billion more than the last budget 2 years ago. We have a fully funded almost $7 billion rainy day fund. How can we not find in human services in whatever department enough money to feed those that need it? When we sit here, people are going to go hungry. That's a choice then, because we have $6 billion in rainy day.
Well, and this
Feed
is
the kids.
from the Department of Human Services Emergency Service Fund, and then also the Family First Prevention Services Act. I don't know when that act was passed, but apparently there's funding associated with it. So it's coming from those two buckets. But it's about 38% of those 440,000 Minnesotans. 38% are children, 18% are seniors that are relying on, food shelves.
Yeah. But I'm just saying we have the money. We're just going to say we're not going to send it because the federal government's not. Well, then we're not who we think we are, Minnesotans. Use the rainy day fund. Take care of the. Maybe. Why do I sound like the harsh guy here? There should be no fear for these people that they're going to eat in Minnesota with money lying around like we have. I throw it out because it seems so.
Well, and then you've got the food shelves too, saying even outside of the government shutdown, they're servicing massive amounts of people.
Yep.
One food shelf, I believe, in Eagan. They said that they're serving 30% more people this year than last year. So they're helping 25,000 people in Dakota County alone, but just the skyrocketing costs of groceries, I mean, it's impacting food shelves as well.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll see how long the government shutdown lasts. I mean, day 28 now, and
yeah, but the remarkable thing about that for 90% of us, of course, obviously the 10% we're talking about now, 90% of us, unless you need a passport, unless you need your driver's license done right away,
well,
I don't know that you're seeing a lot.
I did take a vacation to Florida, a nice quick 4-day vacation, and there were some federal historical landmarkers and locations there, and you couldn't get into any of those either. So that was the first time I was like, oh.
That's something too as well. Like we have to close down national parks. Like you just can't walk around the wilderness if the government doesn't say it's okay. Some of this I don't understand. I mean, you got to guard Yosemite, geysers. I don't know. I just seem weird that we are not going to allow you people that like to walk around without the government here. I don't get that. But that's,
you have to
that's
be monitored when you're walking around.
Exactly. Okay. Your thoughts? Any last story before we go? 2 minutes.
Yeah, special session. I mean, we've talked about it here and there. We've gone back and forth on if you and I think it's going to happen, if it's not going to happen. Walz is kind of doing his own thing now, working with the DFL to hold these sort of town halls on gun violence. Yep. So he held his first one on Saturday over in Waconia. He had U.S. Representative Gabby Giffords there. She survived an assassination attempt in 2011. He had the physician who was the first physician on the scene for the Annunciation shooting, a couple of others as well, but really just trying to put that political pressure on Republicans, I think primarily to try and get them back into their chambers to have a special session and focus specifically on gun control and nothing relating to mental health, which is the approach they want to take.
See, this is going nowhere. Now you're going to say, as he also hinted about, well, if the shutdown goes long enough for him to officially dip into the reserves, I got to have a special session. He opens up that door, that window, get out the way. The topics that will come, but you can't herd these cats well enough to say they're not going to bring up boys in women's locker rooms or whatever. It will be a free for all, and it won't end.
The margins are just razor thin. Yep. I don't see space for us to have a special session. We've got 2.5 months till the regular session. I think we just wait it out. I think that's what's going to happen.
Fair enough. Megan, I love having you on the program. I got to look into this whole fraud thing because there's big money in it. Big money, and I'm just not doing it right. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Well, be careful what you say, Al. You never know. The new auditor could take that into consideration and start looking at you now. So we'll be back next week talking about all the top Minnesota news stories of the week on the Al Travis Show with Megan's News and Review.
Think about it. Now that school's back in session, how